guys, welcome back to Check Your Leader TV, and we're now in part 2 of the Battle of Nivelles. We're starting this video. It's now 1400 hours. It's the commencement of turn 7 of this battle, which will go for 20 turns. The Dutch-Belgian division, more accurately, the Netherlands division, consisting of a Dutch-Belgian infantry brigade, a Nassau infantry brigade, and a Dutch-Belgian cavalry brigade have arrived on the field of battle on the Prussian right flank and threatening the French left. Messengers have been sent off. Davout sent a messenger off to Napoleon, and I can confirm that that messenger has arrived or will arrive at the French headquarters in the next 2 turns. So when we hit turn 8 here, which is 2 turns from now, 2 complete turns from now, a messenger will arrive at Napoleon's headquarters at Hal, at the Battle of Hal, and then the Emperor will be informed of the situation here. What essentially, in a nutshell, what Davout has said to the Emperor is simply this. Currently, he is holding his Guards division, Young Guard, off the battlefield. And the reason he's doing that is because if he is defeated here by the Prussians and the Netherlanders, he'll need that Young Guard division to keep open his line of retreat back towards Napoleon. If the Young Guard is committed here and then the army is defeated, they will be pushed, hurried away from Napoleon's position, not towards it. Possibly, that could possibly happen. Furthermore, if he's defeated and he doesn't have a reserve off the table or off the battlefield, then the casualties he suffers here will be manifestly greater, because there won't be anyone to gather up the routing troops from the battlefield. So that's the situation here. Furthermore, if he's victorious, the Young Guard, if they're kept off the table, the Young Guard cavalry will be able to pursue the defeated enemy and inflict more casualties on them. So that's the situation as it's evolving. So with that said, we'll now get back into the battle, and it's now at the start of turn 7, and we're going to roll for ADC availability and for corps orders before we determine which side will have the initiative for this turn. Now, before we continue with the game, it should be pointed out in the last video, part 1, I neglected to upload the videos of the discipline tests that had taken place due to firing in that part of the game. There was 3 discipline tests. The first was for the Brunswick Hussars. They tested when they received artillery fire from the French 12-pounders. They passed that. They rolled a 9, so they passed the test, but I forgot to upload the video. Sorry about that. The other discipline test that had to be taken was this Prussian battery here, received artillery fire, or it might have been this one. Can't remember which one, but anyway, one of these Prussian batteries on the hill also had to do a discipline test, and they rolled a 7, so they passed also. Now, there was one other discipline test that had to be taken, and that was the French battery that received some artillery fire, and I'll go and talk about this battery now. Here received fire, and that resulted in a discipline test, and because they were over, or they were 6 casualties or more, in this case there were 7, they did their discipline test. They were testing as recruits because they had line quality, and they rolled a 7, which in normal circumstances would have been a pass, but because they were classed as worn, they went unformed. So they are now unformed at the start of turn 7. So the first division we're going to roll for is the Prussian 1st Infantry Division. So we'll roll for them now. They've got 4 ADCs. Of the 4 they have 2 available. Now we'll roll for the Prussian 2nd Infantry Division. They have 4 ADCs, and they have 3 available. Now the Prussian Guards Division, which consists of the Foot Guards and a Heavy Cavalry Brigade, They have all three available. If nothing, if not consistent. And the Dutch-Belgian Brigade, they have three also. 3 ADCs, because poor old Slim Billy is a blusterer. And he only has one available for this turn. There's only 2 French divisions on the table, the 12th and the 13th. We'll roll for the 12th first. The 12th have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double 6, 6. They have 6, which is awesome for them. And the 13th Infantry Division, they have 4. Now we'll roll for call orders. I'm going to use a purple for a blue dice because I'm short 1 blue dice. So this will be Bluecoeur's core orders, red, white, black, and blue, like purple. And Blucher has all 4 types of orders available to him, all 4 types of core orders available. And now Davout, he only has the red and the white. The black and blue are not available to Davout. So the 12th Infantry Division, 6 ADCs are used as follows. A reroll and skirmish, that's 2. Another reroll here for this brigade, that's 3. And then reroll and artillery assault, which is another 3. So that's a grand total of 6. And that is the 6 ADCs for the 12th Infantry Division. So now we'll roll for them. The first Infantry Division, the 12th, they've gone hesitant. 2nd Infantry Division, they've passed. And the 3rd Infantry Division with their artillery assault, they've passed. Now the 13th Infantry Division, they've got 4 ADCs, but they've also been allocated, using the red dice from the Corps Commander, a Corps Adjutant. So basically what they've done is they've given nothing to this brigade here. The Cavalry Brigade's getting a re-roll. So we'll do their roll first, which we don't want them to go hesitant, and they're fine. This brigade has a re-roll with artillery assault. Yeah, they're fine. And then this brigade here has a skirmish task without a re-roll. And they're fine. So the French have just 1 hesitant brigade to contend with. That's not going to cause them to get an extra dice for rolling for core initiative. Okay, so for the 1st Prussian Infantry Division, consisting of this brigade, and the Cavalry Brigade with only 2 AD camps, 1 to the Cavalry and 1 to the 1st Infantry Brigade. The 2nd Infantry Brigade will have to go without. So the 1st Infantry Brigade, 1st Division, they've passed. The Cavalry Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division, they've passed. And finally, the 2nd Infantry Brigade, they've passed. So far, so good for the Prussians. 2nd Infantry Division, re-roll for this brigade, a re-roll for this brigade, and a re-roll for the Cavalry Brigade with their 3 ADCs. So each gets a re-roll. So 1st Brigade, they've passed. The 2nd Brigade, they've passed. And the Cavalry Brigade, they've passed. So all the brigades so far are obeying orders. Now let's have a look at the Prussian Guards. Now before we roll for this brigade, it's come to the divisional commander's notice that this battery is on 4 casualties. You can't assault fire with 4 casualties unless you commit a caisson. So this is the last caisson in this division. It's being committed now. And so if they pass, they can do assault fire even with 4 casualties. If they fail, it doesn't cost them the caisson. The caisson returns back to the divisional headquarters. But that's what we'll do. So we'll now roll for this brigade. Now the Guards are getting a core ADC sent to them as well, which will go to the Infantry Brigade for a skirmish order. The Prussian Heavy Cavalry are getting a re-roll and artillery assault. So we'll do the Prussian Heavy Cavalry Brigade first. They've passed. And the Prussian Guard Infantry with the skirmish order. He doesn't get a re-roll, but he is bold, so that's built in. Oh, and they've gone hesitant. So now the Netherlands Division, they've given their 1 ADC to their Cavalry Brigade for a re-roll. So we'll do the cavalry brigade first. They've passed. Now the Nassau infantry, they've gone hesitant, and the Belgian infantry, they've passed. So just the Nassaus are hesitant. So now we'll roll for corps initiative. There's no pluses or minuses because no division has 2 brigades that are hesitant. So the Prussians will be the white dice. The Prussians have rolled a 10. The French have rolled a 6. So Prussians have the initiative. So there was no charges to declare. So we've now moved straight into movement. So for the Prussians, the 1st Infantry Division, their cavalry have moved up on the left flank. This area here is pretty much just eye candy. It's a very, very low little hedge around a ploughed field, so there's no impediment to movement for the Prussians there. So the cavalry has moved up. The brigade skirmish line is shuffled off to the left, and the infantry has advanced in columns on the French line. The idea being that the French will either have to stay in line and deal with the infantry or form a square because of the threat from the cavalry. That's the Prussian intentions there. In the centre, the other half of the 1st Infantry Division continues to advance towards the village of Nivelles, and the Prussian 2nd Infantry Division, they've not really, they've edged slightly, ever so slightly forward, but they're staying out of canister range of that French battery, and their cavalry brigade has moved up in support to the rear of them. The Guard Heavy Cavalry, or just the Heavy Cavalry, they're not Guard quality, but they're pretty good. The Heavy Cavalry have not done anything. The Dutch-Belgian Cavalry has come up, so now the Light Cavalry and the large regiment of Carabineers has come forward together with their horse artillery. The Dutch-Belgian infantry is advancing. Their brigade skirmish line is thrown forward. The Nassaus are hesitant. And as for the Prussian Guards, because they went hesitant, all they could do is their brigade skirmish line has sidestepped because they want to bring a lot of fire to bear on this woods. So that's all the movement for the Prussians and Netherlanders. Now we will go over to the French. So now we'll look at the French movement. The brigade skirmish line that was driven back by the advancing Prussians, that's a free move. So in the movement phase, they've simply come across to their right to face off against this Prussian brigade skirmish line. They're also stepped this battalion back. They haven't formed a square. They're going to trust in the fact that they're veterans, and if they are charged, they're going to hope that they can form square. This brigade essentially has done nothing. This brigade here, they just advanced with their line, and they've brought their brigade skirmish line in, and they will basically disperse it. There's no point in trying to continue the skirmish fight now. The Prussians are pretty much up in their face, so that brigade skirmish line is going to be brought back in and then just dispersed. This brigade here, they've thrown their skirmish line forward to engage the Prussians who are advancing on to their front. The cavalry brigade from the 13th Infantry Division, their horse artillery battery is deploying here. So they're in the process of bringing their guns into action. Jaunty gunners, huzzah. And over here, nothing else, no movement done at all. So that is all the movement done now. So now we will go into the firing phase because there's no off-table movement to discuss. Oh, and there was one other thing that happened in this movement phase. This battery that had been unformed due to a failed discipline test in turn 6 are now, in this movement phase of turn 7, are now reforming. So they've reformed. And that is all she wrote. So now we'll go on to the firing phase. Okay, so we're starting with skirmish fire, and we'll go from left to right. So these Prussian skirmishers here, shooting at these guys, 4 dice, 2 hits, 1 casualty. That's a base off for these chaps. So now we have all these Prussian skirmish lines here shooting, so we'll go do them now. So we're going to start with this skirmish line here shooting. So that's going to be, it's simply 4 bases, but they're shooting at the BUA, so they're just down to 2 dice. 6 and a 2, so that's a miss. These guys, they're going to shoot at them as well. Why not? or 5 and a 4, so that's 1 hit, so they're going to go up to 2 casualties. And then finally we've got 5 dice, and they're going to be shooting at the 1st Battalion of the 51st Line. That's pretty good shooting. 6, 4, 5, 4. So that is 4 hits, so 2 casualties on them. And now we'll do the Prussian Brigade, Prussian Guard Brigade Skirmish Line and the Prussian Guard Infantry. So it's 4 bases, 5 dice, into cover, back down to 4. So 4 from these guys. 3 hits, so that's 1 casualty, so that's a base off. And then finally we've got the Guards. Light Infantry Battalion, 5 that's 5 dice, with rifles 6, but into woods back down to 5. 1, 2, 3 hits, 1 casualty. So that's on them. So now we'll start with the French, and we might as well start with these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the skirmish tasking, 6 dice. One, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. That's 2 casualties. So they're going to put 1 here. So they'll go up to 4, and they'll put 1 on the brigade skirmish line. Now they did have the skirmish tasking, so if they'd rolled a double 6, they could have inflicted a discipline test on the primary target. The primary target would have been these guys. But they didn't do that. Didn't get a double 6, so there's no discipline tests for that skirmish fight. So we'll do the rest of the French skirmish. The first we're going to have is, this brigade skirmish line shooting at this battalion here. I believe they're reservists. 3 bases, 4 dice. 6, 5, 5, 1. Okay, so that's another hit on these guys. So they've gone up to 4 now. And then the BUA is going to fire at one of these skirmishers. This will be the primary target, so they're going to shoot at them. And a garrison musters 5 dice. 1 hit, no casualties. So there's only 1 more lot of skirmishers to go, and that's over on the French right flank. So it's these guys firing 4 bases, plus 1 is 5 dice. They did have the skirmish tasking, but they went hesitant, so they lost that. So just the 5 dice. And if they roll double 6s, there won't be any discipline tests because they don't have the skirmish task in play. They did roll a double 6, so it's 3 hits, 1 casualty. So they're now up to 2 hits before they lose another 1 more hit and they'll lose a base. So now we have this Prussian battery firing, and they're going to maintain the rage and keep the pressure up on this French battery here. They're already warned, so they want to keep pushing them. So it's just 2 dice inferior, and they've rolled 6. No hit, but no harm to themselves. Okay, moving right along, the other Prussian batteries. Okay, so we're going to go with this battery first, and they're going to be firing across at the unlimbering French horse artillery. Okay, it's just an inferior shot because of the range. They've rolled a 3, so they've hurt themselves. So they're now up to 4. Now, this battery here. Now, before we fire, these guys have artillery assault. However, in the last video, I allowed these guys to do an artillery assault. They used a caisson and to remove casualties, but they hadn't reached the point in which you can really remove casualties, which is at 6 casualties. So I'm going to let them fire, but I'm going to take away their artillery assault just for the sake of evening it up. Because, yeah. So they're just going to have a normal shot, and they're going to fire across. Well, they're going to shoot at the horse artillery battery. Actually, no, they'll shoot at the 12-pounders. So just an inferior shot at the 12-pounders. Oh, and they've rolled a 3. Atrocious gunnery from the Prussians. That's another casualty on themselves. So now the French 12-pounders are going to return fire on these guys here. They do have artillery assault in play. White are the CDs. So they've rolled a 9, but missed with the 2 CDs. Looking here, inferior battery, 1. It's only a discipline test if their canister is being fired. So it's just another hit on this Prussian battery here. They're now worn. And then finally, the horse artillery are going to have a shot. Okay, so the horse artillery, they're going to shoot at this battery too. Just 2 dice because it's an inferior. And a 6. Inferior, long range, no effect. Now, this battery here is going to be firing. It's not at canister range. They're just over 12 inches. So they're going to be firing into this battalion here. And I think they're in support range. These guys here, no, they're not. So no bounce through. So just artillery assault. So it's 2 dice, effective. So it won't be inferior. And the white are the CDs. Okay, 6. Well, there's 2 hits there. So a 6 and a 4 is 1 hit. So that's 2 hits. Plus a 6, I think, will be another. Battery 6, 5 or 6, 1. It would discipline test if it was canister, but it's not canister. So that's 1, 2, 3. So this battalion is now worn. So the final French battery that can fire, well, would be able to fire is this one here. But unfortunately, that battery's hesitant. There's nothing directly in their arc at effective range, and they can't fire beyond effective range when they are hesitant. So that's all the firing then, except now we go to infantry volleys, and I think we're going to get our first lot of infantry volleys now. Okay, so the only infantry battalion that can deliver a volley from the French will be the 1st Battalion, assuming that the target is within 9 inches, and it is. Now this, because it's hesitant, it can only fire directly to its front. So that's directly to its front. And unfortunately, these Prussians maneuvered so that they would not be anywhere even partially in the arc of these guys. So this is the only volley. So they're going to deliver a volley. And it's simply 2 dice. And they're going to fire at the Fusilier battalion that's leading the push. 7. I think 7 will be a hit. So volleys 7, 2 if they are elites firing. But 2 hits nonetheless on these guys. I almost forgot. These guys are veterans. So when they shoot, they get an extra CD. So I'll throw that CD for them now. Yes, that's another hit. So they'll go actually, these guys are actually on 3 casualties. Okay, so the only volleys that are left possibly are these, but the Prussian skirmishers are not idiots and they have stayed outside of volley range. So they're over 9 inches away, but within 12, that's why they could shoot at them. But they can't receive anything back from these guys because they're outside of 9 inches range. That's all the shooting done because the Prussians do not want to deliver any volleys of their own, and the only place they could deliver is with these columns, and they don't want to be doing that. So we're going to go straight on to turn 8. So let's roll for core order availability for the French first. So these are Davout's orders, and he's got all but the white. So he's got red, white, red, blue, and black. Now let's roll for divisional commander ADCs. So we'll start with the French 12th Infantry Division. They've got them all, so 5 for them. And now we might as well do the 13th Infantry Division while we're here. And they've got 4. So 5 and 4. Now, the Prussian Corps Commander orders. They've got red, white, and blue. Now, the ADCs for the Prussian 1st Division. He's got 3. The Prussian 2nd Division. He's got 1. The Prussian Guard and Cavalry Brigade. He's got 2. And the the Netherlands Brigade. He's got all 3. Okay, so the divisional commander is using post of honor for this brigade here, so they automatically pass. That's cost 2 ADCs. And over here, he's gone with infantry assault without a reroll, but he's also using the core ADC to give them glory. If he can roll better than a 1 or a 2, they'll be good. 6, they've passed. And finally, the 2nd Infantry Brigade of this division, no reroll, and they've passed, so they're good. Okay, so the 2nd Infantry Division, their 1st Brigade here, 2nd Brigade here, the Cavalry here. We'll start with the Cavalry, no reroll. Oop, it's got to stay in the box. They've passed. The 1st Infantry Brigade of the 2nd Infantry Division, they're just going with skirmishes, no reroll. And they've gone hesitant. And now we'll roll for the 2nd Infantry Brigade with no ADC. And they've passed. So they have 1 hesitant brigade, which is this brigade here with the skirmisher tasking. Now from the now we have the guards, the guards division. Their cavalry brigade, they just simply have a reroll. They've passed. And their guards infantry brigade, he's bold, but he's been given an individual tasking of skirmish, so he gets an automatic reroll, and he's passed. That just leaves the Netherlands division. We'll roll for the Nassaus. They have no ADC tasking. They've passed. The Dutch-Belgian infantry, they've passed. And finally, all 3 ADCs have been given to the cavalry brigade. They've been given a forwards tasking and a reroll. And they've passed. So the Prussians only have 1 hesitant brigade. So when the Prussian army rolls, they'll be rolling with just two dice because they have no negatives working against them. So now let's do the French. Okay, so this division, they had 5 ADCs. They're going to use CNC's command, now's your time. So that'll cost them 2. And then they're going to, the other 3 they've got left, they're going to do an artillery assault with a reroll on this brigade. And the Swiss, again, will just rely on their own initiative. So now's your time. They automatically pass. Oh, there was also a artillery caisson has been brought up to remove 2 points of damage on the artillery battery. So we might as well take them off now. And they're down to 5. So that's the first of their 2 caissons used. So we might as well roll for the Swiss. No, they've got no reroll, and they've gone hesitant. Okay, and now we have the 51st Infantry Regiment, their brigade. They've got an artillery assault and a reroll, and they've passed with 2 3s. Now let's go have a look at the 13th Infantry Division. The 13th Infantry Division is also using one of their CNC taskings. So from this division, they're going to use Chief of Staff. They've got 40 ADCs. So they automatically get another 2. That'll take them up to 6. But they get to re-roll for the one that they missed. And they've got that. So they've gone up to 7 ADCs, and we'll allocate them now. Okay, so the core ADC is also going to be allocated, and he's going to this division. Of the 7 ADCs, we've got 1 here for skirmish. We've got 3 here for artillery assault re-roll. We've got 3 here for artillery assault re-roll. And this brigade over here will have no reroll, no tasking. So this division, skirmish with a reroll, and they've passed. Artillery assault with a reroll for the cavalry brigade. Oh, and they've gone hesitant. And artillery assault with a reroll. They've passed. And over here, it's just simply a single dot, and they've passed. So they've got artillery assault with a reroll. The cavalry brigade has gone hesitant. I've just remembered the cavalry brigade has a bold brigade commander, so he wouldn't need the reroll. Doesn't change the fact that he's gone hesitant, but that leaves an additional ADC. With that, I would have given, the plan was to give these guys skirmish without a reroll. And they did pass, so I'm going to give them the skirmish. If I had the additional ADC, that would definitely have been given to them, and I would have risked the skirmish tasking without a reroll. And so they get the skirmish tasking. That's that. So now we shall roll for core initiative, and both sides will be rolling 2 dice. So we might as well we'll do that now. So the French will be white and the Prussians will be red. The Prussians have the initiative. The Prussians have 2 charges. This cavalry here with post of honor and this infantry brigade with infantry assault. Now the cavalry is going to charge this line here and this battalion is going to charge them, but we do them in sequence. So we'll start with the cavalry. They'll go first and they're going to charge this veteran infantry line. They will attempt to form square. Okay, so these guys are in column formation, so they charge in column 18 inches. They've got glory because of the post of honor. That's an extra 3. That's 21 inches of movement. They're 20.5 inches away. They stop at the 3-inch mark. These guys test. They're veteran infantry in line, being charged by cavalry. That's a demotion of 1, so they are testing as line. So they need a 7 or better on the on 2d6 to pass. Whoa! Just they've rolled 7, so they form square. Now their buddies can choose to form square or not. These guys will form square. Obviously, these guys are not going to form square because they're concerned about the infantry. Now we complete the charge sequence. These guys have a reroll because they have cavalry support. These guys get a reroll because they have veterans versus lower quality. These guys are line campaign cavalry. Okay, so the Prussians will be the white, the French will be the red. Okay. Now, with a result like that, there's really not much point for the Prussians to re-roll. Even if they got a draw, they would still the cavalry would still withdraw with 1 CD casualties. And the squares takes 1 CD's casualties no matter what they really do. So we're simply just going to accept the result and take 1 CD's casualties each. The Prussians are the white. Both sides take 1 hit and then the cavalry withdraw with 1 CD's casualties. I'm pretty sure the Lancers have to take a CD casualty as well. So we'll roll to see if they, no, all right. So 1 CD on the 2 lead units, and that's that. So now we have the infantry assault. So these guys are leading in. They will move to the 3-inch mark. These guys have chosen to fire, and they do have stand with me. Now's your time in play. I keep getting these 2 mixed up. Now with now's your time, they get to fire with 2 extra CDs, and up to 2 units can recover a CD's worth of casualty, 1 casualty. So this unit recovers a casualty. This unit was just involved in the charge. I don't think it's possible for them to recover a casualty. I'll look deeper into that, but I would suspect that wouldn't make sense. So these guys will deliver their volley. The red dice is their volleying. They get a CD because they're veterans. They also get 2 CDs because of the now's your time. And they get an additional CD because they're firing at an infantry column that's charging them. So they've got 4 CDs as well. So let's see what they can do. Okay, a double 1, which is no hits. They would normally lose fire discipline, but it does not count in now's your time. So that's atrocious. A 3 is not a hit. A 2 is not a hit. But they do get 2 hits with the 6 and the 5. So they've got 2 hits on these guys as they go in. Right. Okay, so now we go through the charge procedure. These guys are veterans versus reservists. So they get a re-roll for being veterans. They don't get a support from these guys because they were involved in a previous charge. And they can only get support by fire from gunners. So they get 1 re-roll. These guys, they've got 2. They've got 1 flank and 1 rear. So these guys have got 2, these guys have got 1, and we'll have the Prussians as the red. Okay, so at the moment, it's tied. So the Prussians are going to sit. They're not going to do anything at this stage. The French are not going to do anything at this stage. First, the Prussians will do a re-roll of the 3, hoping to improve on that. That's their first reroll, then up to 5. Okay, so they're leading by 1. With that, the French will use their single reroll for veteran status, and they've gone up to 5. So they're leading by 1 now. At this point, the Prussians have got nothing to lose. They'll throw their final reroll. They'll reroll the 4, hoping to get a 5 or a 6. And they've got a 1. So they've lost by 4. So that's a negative 3 to 5 result. The lead unit withdraws. They'll take 1 CD's casualties. The supports will halt. So this support, and they will take 1 CD point of casualties, and the defender will simply stand. So the red will be the lead unit. They take a hit, and the resupport unit also takes a hit. And obviously this unit here also has to roll, and they take a hit. So 1 hit each. These guys withdraw, which will put them back behind here. They'll withdraw through these guys, making them unformed, but the rest will be fine. And there's no risk to generals because even though they lost the charge results, this brigade commander and this brigade commander, this brigade commander and this brigade, because even though they lost the charge results, they didn't result in retreats, just withdrawals, and they weren't involved in combat. So no risk to generals at this point. So one can conclude that from these charges, all we've done is unformed this unit, unformed this unit, unformed both of the cavalry units, and essentially done very little harm to the French whatsoever. But what it has done is it has put pressure on the French on their right flank, caused them to use a CNC task, and essentially the whole purpose of this attack was to put pressure on the French whilst the attack on the right develops. So that's the method to the madness. So now we'll go on with movement. Obviously, in this Prussian brigade, the only movement that's going to take place is these skirmishes over here, and then we'll move into all the other Prussian and Netherlanders brigades. And unsurprisingly, the brigade skirmish line from this 1st Division, 1st Infantry Brigade, is moving to envelop the French. So we'll do the rest of the movement now. Okay, so the next thing we'll look at is the movement with the 2nd Prussian Infantry Division and the 2nd Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division. The 2nd Brigade, they're essentially doing nothing. The 2nd Infantry Division, the only thing that's really happened here is these guys, the reservists that were up here, have withdrawn to the 2nd line, so they're back here unformed with a retreat marker on them. The Prussian Heavy Cavalry Brigade, they have done an emergency limber and have moved the artillery back to here. They're marked with a retreat marker. The cavalry themselves have done nothing. Let's have a look at the Guard Infantry Brigade and the Netherlands Division. Okay, before we go to the Prussian Guards, we might as well do the, we've got the forwards movement with the Cavalry Brigade. So we'll 2d6 plus 6. Okay, so 9 plus 6, that's 15. So it's going to be 15 to all the movement for all the units within the Cavalry Brigade. So now we'll look at the rest of the movement. So the Cavalry Brigade's horse artillery has come forward and unlimbered there. All the cavalry have moved up in behind them, very ominously. The Netherlands Dutch-Belgian Infantry Brigade has come forward. The Nassau Infantry Brigade has come forward with their foot artillery to the rear. And then finally for the Prussian Guards, they've moved this battalion forward simply so they can project their skirmish screen forward with a view to tying down these French gunners. And that's all the Allied movement. So now let's go and do the French. So for the French, there's been plenty of movement here. That all happened in the charge phase, however. So there's nothing going on here. These guys are hesitant, and they like it in here. So there's nothing going on here. These guys here, nothing. Their brigade skirmish screen was being dispersed last turn, so they're not doing anything. Now the brigade of conscripts. They have formed squares because they're nervous about the cavalry, but they've thrown their skirmish line forward to engage these guys over here. The cavalry brigade's doing nothing. These chaps really don't need to do anything. They're perfectly fine where they are. They can engage these skirmishers, so that's all right. Finally, this brigade over here, they've this light infantry battalion has broken into skirmish order, and the skirmish tasking will be used for these guys when they shoot. So that's all the French movement. Start with shooting, and we'll go with the these guys first. 4 dice into the square. Oh, 4 hits. So 2 casualties. They'll go up to 3, and that's amazing. 6 6 5. Right, moving right along. Now we have 1, 2, 3 brigade skirmish lines. This one's going to shoot at the BUA, and then these 2 will fire onto these guys. Okay, so we'll start from nearest camera, and we'll just move along. Okay, so this one here, it's only going to be 2 dice into the BUA. 3 and a 5, no hit. 1, 2, 3, 4 at the 1st Battalion of the 51st. 1, 2, 3, 3 hits, 1 casualty, so they're going to go up to 3. And now the this brigade skirmish line here, that's 5 dice. They'll also pour it into the 1st Battalion with only 2 hits, so that's another 1 casualty, so they're now going to go up to 4. So now this brigade skirmish line shooting at the gunners. 5 dice. Only 2 hits, so 1 casualty on those guys. They'll go up to 3. Now the Prussian Guard infantry, they get 5 dice, 6 for the rifles, 2 for the skirmish tasking, so that's 8, but they drop 1 because they're shooting into the woods. 1, 2, 3. Only 3 hits, but that's going to be another 1 casualty on that skirmish line. So now this brigade skirmish line will fire back. That's going to be 4 dice. 3 hits, so that's 1 casualty, so they'll go up to 5 now. And then finally we have 5 here from this light infantry battalion, but they do have the skirmish tasking, so that's 7. And they're going to fire at this brigade skirmish line here. And they've got 1 6, 1 5. That's it. 1 casualty from those 2 hits. Now this brigade skirmish line at them, 5 dice all up. And they've got 3 hits, which is 1 casualty, which will take a base off. I'll take it from this end. Now this brigade skirmish line shooting at the Prussians. So they have the skirmish tasking, so that's 6 dice. And they've got a 6 6, so that's going to cause a discipline test on these guys. So 6 6, but nothing. Oh, and one other, a 4. So that's 1 casualty, but they will do a discipline test. We might as well get that out of the way now. And they've rolled an 8, which for these recruits is a pass. And we can see from here that this brigade skirmish line is out of arc and out of range to these guys here. So that 1 casualty does go on them. That just leaves the garrison to fire 5 dice, and they'll fire at this brigade skirmish line in the center, closest to their front. 5 dice coming out, a 6, a 5, 1 and 2. So that's just going to be 1 casualty on this brigade skirmish line. So we'll whack that down now so we don't forget. And that's all the skirmish fire done. So now we go on to artillery fire. So the first battery to fire will be the Prussian battery on the hill that is attached to the 2nd Brigade of the 2nd Infantry Division. And their target will be the French Horse Artillery Battery. So it's a long-range shot, so it's just an inferior shot. 7, 1 hit. Russian gunners haven't been particularly good during this game. Now the Prussian battery over yonder will fire at this French battery here. They continue with their counter-battery fire. And they've got a 9. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be... it's 1 hit. but I don't think it's a discipline test. So this battery did take casualties from a shot from long range, but it does have a target at effective range, so it's going to go with that. It'll shoot at this infantry column, so it's a standard. It's just outside 12 inches, so it's not canister range, so it's standard fire. It'll get a CD for shooting at a column at effective range, and the purple dice will be the bounce through onto the green clad unit to their rear. So 4, they've done a casualty themselves, so they're worn. They didn't get any bounce through, but they did cause a hit with the casualty dice on these guys, so they'll go up to 2 casualties. So it's been a terrible round for that battery, quite frankly. Let's move on to the abundance of French artillery along the line. Okay, so now this French battery has artillery assault. They're going to fire into this Prussian reserve recruit column. The white are the CDs. Nothing with the CDs, and they've rolled a 3, so they take a hit on themselves. Man, the artillery firing in this game has been absolutely atrocious. So that's that done. The column behind them is not within 3 inches, so there's not going to be any bounce through. Right. The 12 pounders. Now these 12 pounders are in a bit of a bind. They are getting they're getting skirmish fire from these guys here. So I'm going to let them. I'll let the dice decide. 1, 2, or 3, they'll shoot at the skirmishers. 4, 5, or 6, they'll engage the battery that's just come into effective range. So, okay, so they're going to ignore the skirmishers, and they're going to fire a round shot through them into the battery and get bounced through onto the large cavalry regiment. So it's effective fire, and the white dice will be the bounce through. So the crap shooting continues. 3, so they've hurt themselves. So they got to 4 casualties, but they do get a bounce through onto the large Dutch-Belgian combined carabinier regiment. And there's no infantry volley fire at this point, so we're just going to end turn 8 and move on to turn 9. Okay, ADC availability for the French 12th Infantry Division. 1, 2, 3, they've got 3. The French 13th Infantry Division, of their 5, they have 3. The Prussian 1st Infantry Division, they have 2. Prussian 2nd Infantry Division, of their 5, they have none. The Prussian Guard and Heavy Cavalry Division, of their 3, they have 3. And of the Dutch-Belgian, so I should say Netherlands Division, they have 2. Now, Luca's core orders, he has available to him all but the black. And now for Davu's core orders, all but the blue. Okay, so 3 ADCs. 2 are going to be allocated to the cavalry brigade for this division. So they've got reserves and a reroll, and so they're coming on. This division has no reroll, brigade, and they've just gone hesitant. This brigade has no reroll, they're fine, and this brigade over here has a reroll, and they've gone hesitant. Okay, so that's 2 brigades in the 1 division that have gone hesitant. So that means that they're going to be, the core initiative, they'll be rolling at least 1 additional die. For the 13th Division, they've used the core adjutant, and they've given that to this brigade over here, and the other 3 ADCs, 1 ADC to every brigade. So every brigade gets a reroll. So this brigade here, they've passed just. The cavalry brigade, they've passed. The brigade with the 12 pounders attached, they've gone hesitant, a 2 and a 1. And the brigade in the woods, they've passed. So another hesitant brigade, the one with the 12 pounders. So now the Prussian 1st Division will roll for their cavalry first, no re-roll, 6, they've passed. This infantry brigade, no re-roll, 4, they've passed. This infantry brigade has skirmishes and a re-roll. They've just passed. So that's the 1st Division done. Let's do the 2nd Division. 2nd Division now, they have no ADCs, so no ADCs for them. This infantry brigade, the 1st, passed. The 2nd, they've gone hesitant. And the cavalry brigade, they've passed. So this infantry brigade is hesitant. Okay, so the heavy cavalry brigade without a re-roll, they've gone hesitant. The Guard Infantry Brigade, they have a re-roll because they're giving 2 tasks, and bold only helps if you give them 1. So a re-roll and 2 skirmish taskings, and they've passed. The Dutch Belgians, they've given both of their ADCs to the cavalry brigade with artillery assault, and then the core order is going to be a core ADC, so that's the 3rd one here to give them a re-roll, and then the 2 infantry brigades get no re-roll. So we'll go with the artillery assault first. They've passed. The Dutch Belgian brigade, they've passed, and the Nassau brigade, they've passed. Okay, so that's that. Now we'll roll for core initiative. The French will be rolling 3 and taking the lower 2, and the Prussians and Netherlanders will be rolling 2. Okay, the Prussians are the red. They've rolled an 8, and the French are 6. So the Prussians have the initiative. Okay, so there's no charge declarations at this point, so we're going to go straight into movement, and the Prussians will move first. For over on this flank, reformed, that's them done. Moving along, skirmishes, the Fusilier Battalion has broken into skirmish order, so that's the skirmishes task used up. And then the battalion that was directly to the rear has moved up into the line, and that's pretty much it. So heavy skirmishing from the 2nd Brigade of the 1st Division. Over here, this brigade is obviously hesitant, so they're not really doing much at all. The cavalry's not moved up either, they're just holding there. The retreat marker has been taken off them, and they've reordered from their withdrawal to the 2nd line. The battery here that did the emergency limber, they've reordered. Over here, for the Dutch Belgians, they have simply advanced and pushed their skirmish screen forwards. And for the Prussian Guards infantry, they have simply dragged their skirmishers that were skirmishing the artillery back across to link up with the Guard Jaeger Battalion. So they will both heavily skirmish into here, and the Guards Foot Battalion has moved up to join its sister battalion there. And that is all the Prussian movement. So we'll now look at the French movement. Oh, and I should add that in the 1st Division, 1st Brigade, this column has formed line. Obviously, they want to pour fire into that square. For the French, not much movement to talk about other on this flank. This brigade skirmish line from the Hessian Brigade is orientated towards the advancing French, Prussians and Dutch Belgians. Not much else to speak of except until we get to this side. The squares, the French veteran infantry have come out of square into line, and that concluded all the movement. Oh, these guys reordered. That concluded all the on-table movement. Then there was no off-table movement, obviously, from the Dutch Belgians and the Prussians. So off-table movement, the brigade of the 7th Hussars and the 6th Chasseurs à Cheval have entered the table, and they're forming up behind this skirmish line. So now the skirmishing begins. We'll start with this unit here. 4 dice at that French line. 3 hits, 1 casualty. So now we'll start with the skirmishers from the 2nd Brigade. Because they've been reinforced, there's now 7 bases, so that's 8 dice. And they're all going to focus on this battery here. One, two, after all that, 2 hits, so only 1 casualty. Okay, so now this brigade skirmish line is going to fire onto the 1st Battalion, and this brigade skirmish line will fire onto the battery, but because there's skirmishes in arc and range now, the first hit will have to go onto them. So these guys onto this battalion, these guys onto the battery. So 4 here first, these guys, 6643, so that's going to be another casualty on them. They're up to 5 now. Then 5 dice onto the gun battery with the first casualty going onto them. Well, it's on them because it's only a 5, 5, 3, 3, 1. Now, the first shot in anger from the Dutch Belgians and the Nassaus. The Dutch Belgians, their target is the battery, but with an arc and range, the first hit will have to go on them. And for the Nassau, they'll be shooting at the battery as well, but there are skirmishes in the woods, so first hit will have to go onto them. Okay, so the Dutch Belgians first, 5 dice, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1, so that's going to be a hit on those guys. And then these guys here shooting at them. Now, the fire will go into the guys in the woods, but the primary target is the battery, so they don't lose a dice for shooting at the battery because they're not in woods. So 5 dice, 6, 6, 5, 4. Okay, so that is going to be 2 hits. So 1 here and 1 here. So the battery will go up to 5. And the battalion will go up to 2. So now we have fire coming from the brigade skirmish line here and the guard Jaegers. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 2 for the skirmishing, 6, drop 1, that's down to 5. So they'll roll their 5 dice first, and then here we have 5 plus 1 for rifle, 6 skirmishing, 8, drop 1 down to 7. So it'll be 5 and then 7. Okay, so for the 5, it's 6, 6, 5, 1, 2. So that's going to be 1 casualty, which will be a base off. And they'll have to do a discipline test. So we'll do that for them now. They test, brigade skirmish lines need a 7 to pass. 7, they've passed. Okay, now we might as well do the Jaegers shooting at them with their 7 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, he says. And they've got 5, 5, 6, 4, 4. Okay, so that's going to be 5 hits, 2 casualties. And that brigade skirmish line is really shot to pieces now. So this brigade skirmish line, what's left of it, it's in a real bad way. It's going to have to get out of dodge. This will be its last hurrah. It's going to fire back at the Jaeger battalion. 3 dice all up. 3, 1, 2. Okay, yes. 3, 1, 2 is what they rolled. That pretty much tells the story for them. Now we'll just move along to the this light infantry battalion here, firing out 5 dice at that Prussian brigade skirmish line. So 5 dice coming out. 6, 6, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so that's going to be a casualty on these guys here. Now these guys are going to open fire at the Dutch Belgians. 5 dice. 6, 4, 4, 3, 2. So that's going to be one hit. 3 hits, 1 casualty on the Dutch Belgians. Now this brigade skirmish line, they'll shoot at those skirmishers there. 4 dice. 3 hits, 1 casualty. And now the garrison shooting out, and they're going to shoot at this large brigade skirmish line with their 5 dice. 6, 6, 5, 4. Okay, that's two hits. That's 4 hits, 2 casualties. Now we move on to artillery fire. The Dutch Belgians have this horse artillery battery here. They've got artillery assault. This French horse artillery battery is there, and they're going to fire upon them with their artillery assault. It's effective range, so that's going to be 2 dice, and they're going to get their 2 CDs for their artillery assault. So the red are the shooting dice. Okay, 8 is going to be, I think that's only 1 hit, and 4 is another, so that will be 2 hits. Now there's no shooting for the battery on the hill because their parent brigade has gone hesitant, which is a real shame because they really want to put the hurt on the horse artillery battery, but not to be. So that just leaves 1 Prussian battery left. So shoot. Just the Prussian battery over yonder, firing at this line here. There's no bounce through. It's just an inferior shot. 11. Ouch. That's got to hurt. 2 hits on these guys. So we'll do their discipline check now. They are veterans, and they've passed. 2 casualties on them. Now this battery, it's going to be weak fire. So they're worn, and they're shooting at skirmishes. So worn, inferior, skirmishes, weak, but it is canister. So the red dice is the battery, the canister are the white dice. 1 hit from the battery, but nothing from the canister. But that's enough to take a base off. So they're going to lose a base. And now it's going to be a inferior shot canister into the skirmishes. White is the CDs. So 5 is nothing. 4 and a 1, so that's 1 hit. So that will take a base off these guys. So now this horse artillery battery will do counter battery fire and then get bounced through into, they'll try to get bounced through into the large cavalry regiment again. Actually, the bounce through would have to go through into the light dragoons because they're more to the front. So it's as simple as that. Okay, so the white is the bounce through. Oh, double 1. They've gone low on ammo. They've got a self-inflicted casualty. They go up to 5. They go low on ammo, and they didn't even get the bounce through. So obviously, what's happened is they've had a couple of barrels burst, and maybe it startled the caisson away. 12-pounders are hesitant, but they are 12-pounders, so effective range for them is 30. But it's within 24 anyway. So they got a choice. They can either shoot at the skirmishes or at the artillery. I'm going to let the dice decide. 1, 2, 3, the skirmishes. Okay, they're switching to canister. So they're going to fire at the skirmishes. So it's going to be inferior shot because they're shooting at skirmishes, but the white are the canisters. Canister. So okay, 6, nothing, and double 1 with the canister, nothing. So they've shot canister into these guys and had absolutely no effect. That's all the artillery fire. So now we go to volleys. And the only volleys we've got going on is between the Prussian line here and this French line and this one. So I guess we'll do them now. So this Prussian Fusilier Battalion will fire a volley into the French. Wow, 11. That's a discipline test. And I think 3 casualties. So here's the discipline test for them. 7. That means they'll go unformed. Oh no, they're testing as lines, so they'll pass. So they'll now deliver an inferior volley in return due to being worn, but they still get their CD because they're veterans. That'll be 2 casualties. So they're hesitant, so they'll fire directly to the front. So they're firing that column. So it's just two dice, and they get 1 CD because they're veterans. Okay, 6 and 1, so there's nothing there. The 6, I think, an inferior standard volley. 6 is going to be 1 hit. Okay, so this column went fire because it doesn't want to risk losing fire discipline. So with that done, we now move on to turn 10. Okay, ADC availability for the 12th division. 1, 2, 3. And ADC availability for the 13th division. 1, 2, 3. 3 for both. Okay, Prussian 1st Division ADCs. They've got 3. The 2nd Division's ADCs. They've got 4. Prussian Guards. 2. And the Netherlanders. 2. Now are the French corps orders for Marshal Davout. He's got red and black. And the corps orders for Marshal Blucher. Blue and white. So the French have allocated their ADCs as follows. They've given, in the 1st Division, of their 3 ADCs, they've given 1 to the cavalry, 1 to the 1st Brigade, and 1 to the 2nd Brigade. In the 13th Division, they've given 1 to the cavalry brigade, 1 to the brigade equipped with the 12-pounders, and 1 to the brigade in the centre. They're going to leave the brigade in the woods to their own devices. If they go hesitant, it has no real detrimental effect on them. The CNC, the Corps Commander's taskings, he's going to use the red die and give an aide-de-camp to the Swiss Brigade, and he's going to use that for glory without a reroll. So that's what the French have done. So we might as well roll for them now. Okay, so the 1st Brigade in the 12th Division with a reroll, they've passed. The Cavalry Brigade with a reroll, they've passed. The 51st Regiment, that brigade with a reroll, they've gone hesitant again. And now we're going to have a reroll for, the Swiss with glory and with no reroll. And they've passed. Okay. So for this brigade with a reroll, they've passed. The Cavalry Brigade with a reroll, they've passed. This brigade here with the 12-pounders, they've passed. And the brigade in the woods, they've passed. So the French only have 1 single brigade that's hesitant, which is the 51st Regiment in the centre. Okay, so the Prussian 1st Division, they've given a ADC tasking to the 1st Brigade, just a simple reroll, and they've passed. The Cavalry Brigade without a reroll, they've gone hesitant. The brigade in the 2nd Brigade, they have a reroll and skirmisher, and they've passed. So now we move on to the 2nd Division. The 1st Brigade has, with their 4 ADCs, they use 2 for post of honour. They've also got the Corps Commander's Order Sappers, and so this brigade will automatically pass. This brigade here is got a reroll and skirmishes. And they've passed. And the Cavalry Brigade has no reroll. And they've passed. So for the Prussian Guard Division, which has the Guard Infantry Brigade and the Heavy Cavalry simply has a reroll. And they've passed. The Infantry Brigade, they have simply the skirmisher tasking. So they've got a reroll inbuilt because he's bold, and they've passed. The Dutch Belgians, they have 2 ADCs. They've given 1 to the Cavalry Brigade for a reroll, and they've passed. They've given 1 to the Nassau Brigade with a reroll, and they've passed. And then the Dutch Belgian Brigade doesn't have a reroll, and they've gone hesitant. So we'll roll for core initiative now. Both sides are rolling 2 dice. The Prussians will be red. Okay, the Prussians have rolled a 7, and the French rolled an 11. They were just one off to getting another CNC's command. But anyway, the French have the initiative. Now the Prussians, the French have a real predicament here. They don't have a, they couldn't steady the buffs because they used their core order anyway. You can't, from what I can gather from the core game, you can't, a divisional commander cannot steady the buffs and then surrender the initiative, because that's done at core level. And the only way you can remove a hesitant brigade is if you've got a blue dice to ride the line. And they don't have that. So they can't remove the hesitant from this brigade, which is a real problem for the French, because we are about to do an infantry assault. These guys are going to charge in towards that building here, and these guys can only fire directly to their front. So as soon as they get to the 3-inch mark, and that'll place them outside the arc of these guys, so they won't be able to get any supporting fire from these guys here. The only fire that'll be able to come in on them will be from the BUA, and with 5 dice, they can't possibly get 3 hits to disorder them. So these guys are going to go in, even if they get the maximum number of hits on them, they're not going to be disordered. They'll have sappers, they'll have posts of honor. These guys going hesitant, this 51st Regiment going hesitant, is really bad news, I think, for the French. So we start off with charge declarations. I was looking carefully at the French. Is there anything they could do to sort of like upset the apple cart with a charge? And they can't. So now we go to the Prussian and Netherlands charge declarations. And obviously the Prussians have this one here, the post of honor. We have the divisional commander attaching to his brigade, and they're going in here. So that'll be their first charge. So we'll do that. So here we have Von Perch, the 10th Infantry Regiment. The 1st and 2nd Battalions are going in. Sappers attached. The garrison, the Swiss garrison, the 1st Battalion of the 4th Regiment will shoot with their 5 dice. 1 hit, which is no casualties, so no hits are inflicted upon them at all. And now they go straight in. So this will be resolved in the hand-to-hand phase. There are no other charges. So now we go to movement. The French have the initiative, so they will move first. Okay, so in the movement phase, the only French movement that's worth note, before I get onto that, in the command phase, a caisson was allocated to this battery that was low on ammo. So the low on ammo is now removed. The cavalry from the 1st Division has moved up to within 6 inches of this battalion in line, and also this battalion, to provide support if they are assaulted. So that's all the French movement. Now the Prussian movement. So for the Allied movement, we just had some brigade skirmish lines pushing up here. The garrison's moved out of the village of Bray-le-Haut, and as the Guard infantry moves up, the Nassau infantry is advancing. The horse and their attached artillery batteries moving up. Cavalry's moved onto the high ground here, and the 2nd Division infantry cavalry brigades moving in on the right. All the Allied cavalry seems to be massing opposite the 13th Infantry Division. What's also noteworthy is the skirmish tasking that was on this brigade here was given to the Fusilier Battalion, and they've used that to reinforce the brigade skirmish line. 4 bases go in, up to their maximum of 7 bases. The cautious advance by the Prussians in the centre. The lead battalion, the Fusiliers, they've retired to the 2nd line, so they're back here now with a retreat marker on them. And their sister battalion, the 2nd Fusiliers, has formed line, nice and fresh, ready to engage these Frenchmen here. And so that's all the movement. So now we'll go into shooting with the French firing first. There's no firing to be done on the right flank. The garrison's already fired, so we've just these skirmishes here. 3 bases, 4 dice, hitting on 4, 5s and 6s. 2 hits, 1 casualty. So the next brigade skirmish line to fire is this one here, in front of the central brigade with the 12-pounders. They're going to engage. They'll shoot at these guys here. The Nassaus, they're closer. 4 bases, 5 dice. Wow, that's good shooting. 4 hits. Wow, that's 2 casualties. Now the next to fire is this French light infantry battalion in skirmish order. Now the other thing is this brigade skirmish line here is down to 2 bases with 2 casualties on it. In the movement phase, they should have been moved back in. So I'm not going to be cruel to the French. I'm going to let them disperse now, so they are no longer in the brigade skirmish line. I would have advanced these guys up to the edge of the woods so that they can fire out. So I'm doing this a little bit out of sequence. Obviously, this would have all happened during the movement phase, but it's simply because I forgot to pull in that brigade skirmish line, and that was always on the cards. That was always the intention. So we've done that. Now, back to the firing. This French light infantry battalion in skirmish order, and they're going to be firing at the brigade skirmish line from the Prussian Guards Infantry Brigade. Right, so that's going to be 5 dice. And they've only got 1 hit, so no casualties. So that's all the skirmish fire from the French. So now we'll do the skirmish fire from the Prussians and Netherlanders. So 1, 2, 3, 4 units skirmishing here. So we'll get into that now. So we'll start here, this Prussian infantry battalion. It's 5 dice, 1 with rifles, 6, drop 1 because the wood's back down to 5, and they're shooting at this line. 6, 6, 6, 6, 1. Okay, so that's 2 casualties on these guys. Now these guys had the skirmish tasking, 3 bases, that's 4. Drop 1 for the woods, back down to 3, but they get 2 for the skirmish tasking, back up to 5. They're going to shoot at the light infantry battalion in here. 2 hits, 1 casualty. They're going to go up to 3. So now the next along, these chaps here shooting at the battery, 5 dice. That is 3 hits, 1 casualty. They go up to 6. And then finally we have these guys here shooting at these guys here. 4 bases, 5 dice. 1 hit, no casualties. So that's all the skirmishing for the Dutch Belgians and the Prussian Guards. So let's go to the 1st and 2nd divisions now. So now we have this large brigade skirmish line since it's been reinforced by the Fusiliers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dice. They're going to shoot at the battery, but the first hit will have to go, the first casualty will have to go on the brigade skirmish line. Okay, so they've opened fire. Like I said, they're shooting at the battery, and it's 8 dice. 1, 2, 3, 3 hits, 1 casualty, and that will go onto this brigade skirmish line here. All right, the next little skirmish line across is directly in front of the 51st. They're going to fire directly to their front. They've got 3 bases, that's 4 dice. And they've got 2 hits, 1 casualty. That takes the 1st battalion, the 51st, up to 6. So they're now worn. So the skirmishers have certainly done their job. And the final lot of skirmish firing is from these guys here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice there, and they're shooting at the battery. Okay, 7 dice. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hits, 2 casualties. That takes them up to 9. That battery is going to have to get the hell out of Dodge, because I'm pretty sure batteries disperse at 10. Artillery fire now. We're not going to bother with the battery that's dithering on the point of destruction. Instead, we'll go straight to this battery here. They're going to fire canister into the skirmishers. So it's going to be 2 dice inferior with 2 CDs. The white dice will be the CDs. Okay, 8 is going to be 1 hit and another hit from this casualty dice. That's 2 hits on these guys. That's 1 base off. So we might as well take it from this end. So that's the shooting from those guys, which is pretty good. Now, the next battery to fire will be the 12-pounders. The reason being is the horse artillery battery that went low on ammo. In the move that you have ammunition replenishment, you can't also fire. So the ammunition caissons come up, they're replenishing the gun caissons, so they can't fire. That also applies if a battery does assault fire and they roll 4 or less. I don't know if I've been picking up on it during the game, but anyway, it's certainly the case when you're low on ammo. So now, the 12-pounders. Now, they're in a bind. They're worn. If they were to fire at the skirmishers, they would only be throwing a single CD. So what they'll do is they will fire at the battery. It will be, even though it's an effective range, because they're worn, it will be inferior. So they're going to do an inferior shot at the Dutch-Belgian horse artillery because they're worn. But they will get bounced through onto the Dutch-Belgian light dragoons. So 7 is going to be 1 hit there, and 6 will be 1 hit on the light dragoons. And now for the Allied artillery fire, and the first battery to fire will be the Dutch horse artillery, and they're going to fire at the French horse artillery. So the question is asked, do you want to smoke or a pancake, a bong or a Brits? And they've rolled a 10. Ouch. That'll be a discipline test and 3 casualties. Now the discipline test, now they're worn, but they are veteran horse artillerymen, so they've got that going for them. So they'll need a 7 to pass. They've rolled a 12. We'll have a flapjack, thank you very much. Because I'm your father. Now the Prussian battery on the hill, they're also going to shoot at the horse artillery. Inferior shot because of the range. And a 10. I think that's going to be 2 hits. Yeah, 2 hits will take them up to 10. It would be a discipline test, but that's not necessary because artillery disperse on 10. So this battery is destroyed, which means the French cavalry brigade will falter. The next Prussian battery to fire would be this one. Unfortunately, however, the skirmishers advance across their line to engage that French battery, which is not too bad a thing. They probably did more damage anyway, but they won't be shooting this turn. So that's all the artillery fire done. So now we go to volleys, and we'll start with the French. We'll go to their left flank. There'll be this French infantry line in here, and they're going to fire out at the Guard Jaeger battalion. A crashing volley comes out of the woods towards the Prussians. Inferior volley because they're shooting at skirmishers. 4. They've lost fire discipline. The next volley to be delivered is from the 51st line, both battalions. So this one here will fire at the skirmishers directly to their front. So that'll be the large brigade skirmish line. So it's an inferior volley, but it's a 12. So that's going to roll on the destiny table also. So that's cost them a base. They have to do a morale test, or sorry, discipline test. They easily pass. Now on the destiny table, a 5. Well, a 5 means they get to recover a casualty. Okay, so the next battalion along, this will be just a weak volley. So just 1 CD at the skirmishers to their front. Actually, it's probably not worth it. They could lose fire discipline, so they're not going to shoot. So the next volley we have is these guys here. So they deliver their volley. They're going to fire into that Prussian column. So they get their normal dice, but because they're veterans, they also get a CD because they're drilled. So 7 is going to be 1, and 6 will also be 1. 7 actually might be 2. Let's have a look, because it's a standard volley. Volley, 7, 2. So it's 3 casualties all up on that column. Now an inferior volley, because these guys are worn, but they still get their 1 CD for being veterans or drilled. So they've rolled a 6 and a 6. So an inferior volley with a 6 might be 1 hit. Inferior volley, yes, 1. And another 1. So that's 2 on these guys. The Prussians return the favour. Standard volley, 10. Okay, that's going to hurt. A standard volley with a 10. They did change formation, but it's still going to be 3 with a discipline test. So these guys are now up to 10 casualties, which is pretty bad. They have to do a discipline test, so they'll be testing as line, and they've passed. The column here will not fire, and there shouldn't be any other volleys anywhere else to speak of, and so we now go straight into the combat phase. Okay, we'll do the we'll go through the Prussians dice first. They get 5. They start off with 5. They've got Post of Honor Glory, which gives them another 2. They've got Sappers attached, which gives them another 2. They're not elite infantry. They're not large. They're attacking a village in the first round, so they lose 1. And other than that, that's it. So they have 8 dice. Now, if we look at the French defenders, they start with 5. They have Glory, so they get another 1. They are Grenadiers, so let's have a look at that. Glory, Lancers, Elite and Veteran versus lower grade. Formed higher grade versus recruits. They're not fighting against recruits, so that's not going to help them. That's it. So Grenadiers would help them in the charge, but there's not much use to them in the combat. So the Prussians will have 8 dice, and the defending French will have 6. So we might as well roll the Prussians first, hitting on 4+. 1, 2. They've got 3 hits. And now the defending Swiss, 1, just 1, lost by 2. That means the French, the Prussians will storm in and take the front half of Nivelles. Now, there's also a risk to the general for the French because they got a retreat result. 2, he's fine. The Prussians storm in. They're unformed. They took their 1 casualty. The 1st Battalion of the 4th have been driven back. They're back here. They're unformed. They had 2 casualties prior. They're now up to 5. And so I think the sappers really helped, and the lack of casualties going in made a big difference. So that's the situation at the end of turn 10. And we do have a faltering brigade. That does mean that the young guard can be released, regardless of Napoleon's advice one way or the other. Now would be a good time to have a bit of a review of where we're up to. It's now at the commencement of turn 11, so it's approximately 16:30 hours on the 18th of June. A courier has just arrived in the Davout's headquarters from Emperor Napoleon, authorizing him to feel free to use the young guard. Fortunately for Davout, he's already decided he's going to do this. With the loss of the forward edge of Nivelles, or the western half of, the eastern half of Nivelles, and the fact that the cavalry brigade on his left centre has just faltered, things are looking pretty desperate for the French at this stage. The first brigade of the 12th Infantry Division is very, very heavily attrited. This battery is going to have to get withdrawn. This battalion is going to have to get withdrawn to the second line. That leaves them really just 2 battalions holding their right. Nivelles is compromised. The Swiss will probably be able to recapture it, but it's going to turn into an attritional fight here that really the numbers are on the Prussian side at this point. So the French right is heavily under pressure. Now, this is quite deliberate on the part of the Prussians. The main effort for the Prussians is their right flank, or the French left, more importantly destroying the French 13th Division. All this work here is designed to draw the Young Guard to this side of the field. So the French are in the position do they commit their Young Guard to the right, trying to recapture here, understanding that the 13th Division is going to be having to hold the Guard, the Prussian Guard, the Prussian Heavy Cavalry, and an entire Netherlands Division? Or do they switch the Young Guard to here, understanding that their right flank is probably going to collapse? So there's a real bind there for Davout. Now that does, however, give Davout another option to consider. Now if we have a look here where we're currently at Nivelles, Davout could possibly withdraw and try to create a defensive position along this river line here. So that's pretty good defensive ground. Woods will be on his left. He has a river across the vast majority of his front, and maybe this area here would be open. But it's still a very good defensive position for Davout in here. Meanwhile, up here at Hal, Napoleon's banging away with he's fighting Wellington, and really Davout doesn't really know how that battle's going, if it's going poorly or if it's going in Napoleon's favor. So that's where we're at the commencement of turn 11. And so we're going to wrap it up there with the situation desperate for the French, with a brigade faltering and half of Nivelles in the hands of the Prussians, but the Young Guard ready to be committed. Okay, but before we go, we're now, like I said, we're at the commencement of turn 11. But I'm going to put it out there for you guys to make comment. I'll put a poll together. I don't know quite how to do that yet, but I'm sure it can't be that difficult. But even if I can't, maybe in the comments section below, should Davout withdraw, or should he commit the Young Guard? And if he does commit the Young Guard, should he commit all of it or just part? So maybe the Young Guard cavalry comes up, maybe just one of the brigades of the two divisions, the tirailleurs or the voltigeurs of the guards. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up there. Like I said, if you find this useful, or if you're enjoying it, like, share, and subscribe. Please make comment. I'm always interested to hear what the punters think. And so we're going to wrap it up there, and we will see you back for the beginning of turn 11 at 4:30 p.m. on the 18th of June, 1815, in this What If campaign. Ubiquate.